You can make an argument that this group is the best on Georgia's roster right now, and I'd agree with you. You can make the argument that it's the best unit in college football, and I wouldn't bat an eye at that either. I'm talking about the Georgia linebacker room. C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, Chris Cole, Justin Williams, Zayden Walker, Chris Jones. They've got a ton of guys. It's a group that is littered with 5 stars, and the only one I think that wasn't a 5-star to that group that I just said was C.J. Allen, and he's Georgia's alpha in that group, has been starting for years. When I watched G-Day on Saturday, there was no thought about, hey, how are the linebackers going to play? I didn't think about that at all heading into it. I was thinking about certain players in the secondary. I was thinking about the running backs. I was thinking about a lot on the offense. But pretty much everything but the linebackers were of my concern when I went into Sanford Stadium to watch G-Day. And what I came out with was just confirmation of what I already thought. This is the best group on the team, and I don't think it's close. They produced on Saturday. They've produced time and time again, and they're producing first, second, third round picks out of this group. And apparently the backups play harder than anybody else on this team. I'll bring you the exact quote that Kirby said after G-Day. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post. These guys are legit, and if I'm Glenn Schumann, I am a happy man that on my defense and specifically with the group that I work the closest with, I don't have to worry. And, knock on wood, you don't want any player to get injured. I don't have to worry about what happens if Raylan Wilson gets hurt, because they have so much depth there, and talented depth, and some depth with experience. That happened a year ago. Last year, Smile Mondon dealt with injuries. The year before that, Jamon Dumas-Johnson dealt with injuries. What happened? C.J. Allen filled in for Jamon Dumas-Johnson in 2023. What happened in 2024? Chris Cole rotated in as a third linebacker. Raylan Wilson moves up while Mondon is out. And look, Mondon is a great football player. And he made a lot of plays before and after he got hurt. But the group didn't really skip a beat in terms of talent and production. They still were really, really good. C.J. Allen's Georgia's leading returning tackler, right? He was up there with Malachi Starks for tackles. He is Georgia's alpha in that group. And he embodies a lot of what Kirby wants. A guy that doesn't care about the money, just wants to play for Georgia and just wants to win national championships. He told us a couple of weeks ago, why would I care about money right this second when I didn't care about it when I was playing 7 years old? Well, if you're C.J. Allen, you have an opportunity to go to the NFL draft in a year. You're going to make a lot of money. So he definitely cares about it, and he's definitely getting some sort of paycheck from Georgia boosters, NIL collectives, Georgia, whatever it is. He's getting some money, but it's that type of mentality that Kirby really, really wants. You get a Raylan Wilson who entered Georgia at the same time as C.J. Allen. They're buddies. Raylan Wilson's the higher-ranked guy, and he's not the one that won playing time as a freshman. It was C.J. Allen. And then as a sophomore, a year ago, it wasn't him that started next to Smile Mondon. It was C.J. Allen. Raylan Wilson's the guy that had to rotate in and play not garbage duty, but had to wait his turn in moments. And now they're going to both be out there together. He's excited to lead. He talked about that. He's excited for it to be what he said, his time and their time, referencing him and C.J. Allen. Well, look, the guys they have behind Wilson and Allen who are going to make up the best linebacker tandem in college football are really, really good too, and they're 5 stars. Chris Cole, I referenced earlier, was a guy who got extra playing time a year ago as a true freshman because Mondon got hurt. And he played inside and outside. He was productive. He scored a touchdown, right? A couple of fumble recoveries. Made an impact against Texas, right? Now, a lot of guys made an impact against Texas when Georgia's defense was dominating out in Austin, but he did it. And it's Justin Williams who's the highest-ranked guy out of all of these players. All of them. Justin Williams is the highest-ranked. He's one of the highest-ranked linebackers of all time, inside linebackers, that is. He's one of the happiest dudes you'll ever meet, always has a smile on his face, and He's technically linebacker 4, right? He balled out on Saturday at G-Day. Let me bring up the stats so I don't botch them up. But, yeah, 7 solo tackles, 9 total, 3 for loss, a couple of pass breakups. He was in the backfield. He made things difficult for Ryan Puglisi, right? There wasn't a ton of pressure, but he provided some of that, right? There wasn't a ton of pressure, and that's why I referenced in a separate video from a couple of days ago why I think the Georgia's defensive line is of the most concern and has the most mystery to it. But it's these linebackers, when you go to that next layer, they're going to be part of bringing that pressure too. And Justin Williams showed that. He showed sideline speed. He's 6'2", super long arms, incredibly fast. I think Raylan Wilson's the fastest out of all of them, but if I had to pick second fastest, I'd probably pick Justin Williams out of that group just off of everything that I've watched. And Kirby said of Justin Williams and Chris Cole, who are the backup linebackers, he said there's not anybody on the Georgia football team that plays with as much fire, passion, and energy as Chris Cole and Justin Williams. So Kirby has used that phrase over and over and over again. How many times has he said it this spring? I'd say at least 6 or 7 times. At least 6 or 7, probably more than that, where he talks about we just want guys with fire, passion, and energy. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for when we're recruiting. That's what we are looking for them out of practice when they're out there and it's hot and they're playing at the hottest time of the day. He wants fire, passion, energy. He said it over and over. What does that say when it's the best group is the one that plays with the most? Well, there's different ways you can look at it. There's a negative angle you could look at it. You could say, well, you need that out of the quarterbacks. You need that out of the offensive line, the defensive line. You could sit there and piece it apart like that. You could sit there and say that's good because your leaders are playing better than the rest of the, or are playing with more passion and fire. I was trying to say that without quoting Kirby, but he used the words. They playing with more fervor. I'll give you another vocab term, fervor, than some of those other guys. But look, this is a group that is extremely talented. A question that, and I want to do a whole separate video on this pretty soon and discuss just who are Georgia's dogs, who are the best players on this football team. Because guys like KJ Bolden come to mind, but it's not as obvious as like last year. If you asked me April of 2024, Ryan, who are the best players on Georgia football's team? I would have snapped. I would have said Jalen Walker. I would have said Malachi Starks. I would have said Carson Beck. Those would have been like the 3 that like my knee-jerk reaction. Michael Williams would have come up very quickly as well. Smile Mondin would have jumped in there, right? So Tate Ratledge, there were obvious answers. In 2023, what's your snap reaction? You talk about Brock Bowers. You talk about Ladd McConkey. You talk about Kamari Lassiter and Javon Bullard. Those would have been my very immediate answers. You don't even need to get me going on 22 and 21 and so on and so forth. This year, I don't have one. I don't know who it is. But what I do know is that as a collective group, the linebackers are as good as anyone in college football. It's the most stacked and most well-positioned unit on this football team to succeed whether or not the starters do or don't. Right? They have a lot of depth in certain areas. Linebackers, one of them. They have the talent as well. And you can make an argument C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson are 2 of the best players on this team, are going to be stars. It's not like the past years where I have the easy answers. I'm going to sift through that and talk about that this coming week. But if you tell me it's the linebackers, I'm not arguing with you. In fact, I'll agree with you. Thanks for watching.